I don't know if you're doing the thing. Oh, you did the thing.
I'm telling you that Pokemon Go is actually a game now. It's the weirdest thing. Like, they launched and it was a thing, and now it's actually what it should have been when it launched. It's the weird. Hey guys, how's it going? We're live with the Metal Lab. As you can tell, I'm sure from the live screen, it's just my face right now because I'm only joined this week by Mr. J. Solomon.
Hi.
We're a little late this week because I got stuck late at work. I apologize to everybody. We were going to be joined by Mike White, but my tardiness, unfortunately, kept him back. He works very early mornings, and I start at normal times and work very late right now. So, Jay, how's your weekend here at Heroclix been?
Oh, what the hell did we do? Oh, we did 401. We did a Pauper tournament. I tried out Necroon the Bat God at full points. Which is pretty good. I played her because she was basically the only source of prob I could get in my constraints. I did Agent Venom, Baby Groot, and another piece that I can't remember. And I went 2-1, but nobody went 3-0, so I won there. And then we did meta practice, and I did. Can't remember. Did I find out? No, I found out I was judging on Friday at Canadian Nationals, but despite that, I still played in the Nationals practice tournament because we had an even number of players, including me. Or no, wait, we did have an odd number, but Tom was there, but then he was going to drop, so it was weird. But I had the first round bye, and then my second game, I couldn't roll anything. Like, I had situations where I had like 1 or 2 probs and I was needing 7s, rolling 4s. It wasn't good. My symbiote on Unimind didn't get me shape change a single time. And I was winning the game for a while, but then I got popped because I couldn't roll any of my rollouts against Devin. And then that was yesterday. So here we are.
Cool. Awesome. Myself, I didn't get, other than a little bit of testing in the kitchen, not a whole lot of Heroclix in this week. I went to a Magic tournament and did that on Saturday. I apologize to everybody for betraying their trust, as it were.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the warehouse where I was at. And also practiced. And
yeah, there's a lot of practice tournaments this week. A lot of people are really trying hard to get in the Canadian Nationals this time around, or do well in Canadian Nationals at the very least. I just want to take a second to point out, as has been mentioned in our chat, last year's Canadian national champion Adam Cole is claiming, I don't believe a word of what he says until we get there, that he's not going to be able to make it due to car trouble.
Oh, no, that's true. That's true. He said, like, if the stars aligned, there was a 10% chance he makes it. It's actually, unfortunately, true.
But he also said he was playing Doomsday last year, so.
I mean, he wouldn't lie to me. But,
you lied to everybody. So, as you can imagine, I'm so skeptical, but he's claiming he's not going to be able to make it. So we're going to have a new Canadian national champion this year. Hopefully it's a Canadian. We'll see. It's one of the going jokes. You know, your lack of confidence is why we don't win, Jay. Get your confidence back.
I can't help the cause, unfortunately. All I can do is DQ as many Americans as possible.
In light of that fact, though, I do also want to point out that this Friday we have some very exciting content that may or may not be related to what WizKids is releasing right now. So we have it set up and ready to go. So us being on the road and getting ready for Canadian Nationals is not going to matter. YouTube has wonderful automation tools to set us up, and we'll have a delightful treat for you guys this weekend as we will be in Canadian Nationals. We'll also try to get as much content as we can in relation to that going, but I'm going to stop talking about that because we have previews to talk about, and previews are an awesome thing, and we're going to start this week with,
and they're all from comicbook.com, by the way.
These are all from comicbook.com. Excellent. So plug the source, as it were. So we're going to start, of course, with Clayface, the common prime Batman. His real name is Matt Hagen. He's got a hidden identity revealed trait. I think we saw this on another Clayface, but we'll just reiterate. When Clayface would be KO'd, roll a d6, add the number of identity tokens on a result of 6+. Instead of KOing Clayface, replace him with figure number 56 Clayface on click 6. This power has protected Pulse Wave. He's got a trait. Clayface does not count for or against a theme team. It's called corporate espionage. And his other trait, hidden identity, shape change, but succeeds on a 4 to 6. When Clayface uses it and succeeds, you may give him an identity token, protected outwit on that trait, or on his super shape change in general. And he's got ignores, elevated, and hindering for movement. He is indomitable at 45 points with a wild card team ability, and what you see is what you get dialed. Jay, what do you think of Clayface?
Well, the fact that he can just be on literally any theme team is always relevant. Although it's not that he's not costed appropriately, but it would be better if he costed a couple more points, because 50-point relevant call-ins are a thing. But he can do some stuff. I don't know if he's quite good enough to make the meta cut, but I think you just definitely played in sealed. It's hard to kill. Although if you pull the Clayface, you probably want to play the Clayface. Although both together could be really annoying with all the shape change.
Oh yeah.
But as far as the meta goes, it's not easy to get around shape change and stealth together, but he doesn't necessarily do anything that makes it worth playing him. Like if he had plasticity or plasticity variant to go along with the shape change and be annoying, like one of those 2 range plasticity versions, it would be good. But as is, I don't really see much reason that you're playing him, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, it's the weirdest thing that for once the prime discount, or the prime taxes I like to call it, has actually become a negative on the figure. Thank you for pointing that out, Jay. But he's indomitable and only 45 points, so he's a character I don't mind using his smoke cloud as an actual action once we get him into position. And he's got these the outwit and perplex, both are really good powers. Like you said, not necessarily going to work in the meta or in the competitive meta, but this is one of those characters, much like the other Clayface. If he works, oh man, is he good? If he doesn't work, he's really going to not do well. All right.
Yeah, he comes. It's worth mentioning that other, when he turns into Clayface, he has charge, blade, super senses, and giant. Or he gets giant reach later, battle fierce. It's 125 points. Like if you have faith in your rolls, you might go for it, but you also give away a lot of extra points for it.
Yeah,
so.
The giant growth is also based, or the giant reach on his is based on a certain number of tokens that he gets.
Yeah, he has to get later. He doesn't start with.
Well, he also gets them from shape change. So
yeah, they're both good. I just feel like you're sticking to the casual here.
Oh yeah. All right, next up, Nightwing. I should have probably zoomed as appropriate when I needed it here. Nightwing is Batman family, Gotham City martial arts keywords. He's got a special movement power in his first 2 clicks: former boy wonder, leap, climb, and sidestep. Free if Nightwing has 2 action tokens, make an attack. He's Batman team ability, 50 points, and this is the dial we get. If he had willpower indomitable, I'd be more interested in this guy. But the fact that you get 2 action tokens on him and he's pushing anyway means he's getting progressively worse, and that's not exciting to me. But, this is going to be a casual figure on those Gotham City or Batman family teams. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, it's weird how we have an animated Nightwing finally, and Scott Porter has voiced him in the past, but it's not that great of a figure. But he looks fun enough, and in Golden Age, you can give him the Batman family ETA for willpower, and he's better, but I don't think you're playing him over a 50-point fast forces Nightwing for outsiders.
Nope, that's for sure. All right, next up, Hardak Batman. Batman family, Gotham City, and robot keywords. Oh, man, this guy is a couple years too late. He's got a trait, Batman's knowledge, downloaded to a robot body. At the beginning of the game, choose a character named Batman on your sideline and turn that character, to a starting click of 75 points or less. Free. Choose a standard power displayed on that click. Hardak Batman can use the chosen power until your next turn. He's got a special defense power on his 3rd click. I've taken a life. Stop. Invulnerability. When this click is revealed for the rest of the game, Hardak can't be healed. Hardak Batman, sorry. I know all of you. I know all of your moves. Shape change probability control, but only to target a character named Batman or Hardak Batman. Then he's got his what you see is what you get on the for the most part. Once he hits that in his stop click, he's a Battle Fury charging type of character. 75 points, ignores elevated and hinders for movement. He's got the Batman team ability. What do you think of the Prime super rare, Jay?
Also very fun. And the more Golden Age you play, the more options you have. Although I don't feel like you're ever not using the Chase Batman from this set where you can get running shot, reflexes, or outwit. Like, I don't see that ever happening. But there's still other random options in the low point realm. I mean, the game is going lower points, and he's like, everything here is good. It's just that he doesn't do anything that is going to be conducive to the meta. Like, for the points, the stats, the stop click, like, everything here is good. It's just he doesn't do anything that he will substitute for another piece. Like, he's the same number of points as Lockjaw or, you know, other options. So, again, very fun. And also, it doesn't really interfere with many primes. So for your casual games, you're not worried about not playing the Batman family primes or whatever. But yeah, not seeing much of a meta scene, unfortunately.
Yeah, right now the competitive environment sees a lot of gatekeepers, but not a lot of keymasters, and that's this character is not necessarily a keymaster until he gets into his late dial. Which like the only thing he solves is being able to easily kill Walking Woods. But once you kill all Walking Woods, guess what? Your Groots are colossal retaliating. So it's it's one of those. I want this to be better, and it's not quite there for competitive play. But this is this set of primes looks like it's a fun prime set, much like the last one. And I think they're taking the primes a little away from the hyper competitive zone.
Yeah, this is not going to be one of the harder super rare primes to get. Like,
no,
it would not be crazy expensive, which is good. A good thing.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Aquaman. The first time I think I've come across one of these chases where I was like, oh, this is not necessarily particularly good. Now, at a 50-point character, this is a very solid dial. I'm not going to bash him on that. But we do have to go over the other parts of his dial to make sure that we cover everything. We have the Trouble Alert trait. If you're not familiar with the Trouble Alert, basically, if you miss 3 times in a turn or make a critical miss, you can bring this guy on onto the board on his blue starting line. And then after they're in the game, every turn you roll die on a 4 to 6, they take 1 unavoidable damage. Ultimately, there's no pre-measured cost in order to get these guys on your sideline. You can just bring them. And this is common across all the chases, and there's a dozen chases in the set. There was a little period of time where I was a little worried about it, but when you see this weekend, there's a little less worry in regards to those numbers. They all have a weakness, much like this Aquaman, having to do stuff on land, my occasional weakness. Characters that aren't occupying water terrain modify attack +2. When attacking only Aquaman, characters that aren't occupying water terrain modify defense +2 when Aquaman attacks them. And then he's got another trait. I use my undersea telepathy power, generate 3 average fish bystanders. Average fish are autonomous, aquatic, move 2 squares, 8 attack, 14 defense, are tiny with 1 damage. Force Blast is not a great power on a figure who's smaller than everybody. And then as well, they've got a trait at the end of your turn, KO this character if it is not occupying water terrain. He's got a special attack power, generate up to 6 water terrain markers in distinct squares. This is a free, sorry. Generate up to 6 water terrain markers in distinct squares within 4 squares, each adjacent to at least one other, and at least one marker must be adjacent to Aquaman. At the beginning of your next turn, remove the water markers. Free, generate an average fish bystander in a square with a water marker placed by Aquaman. So, now this is not a bad Aquaman, but it takes a lot for him to function. And one thing worth noting too, this is an Aquaman, much like the we talked about with the Hawk Girl chase. You're going to bring out these average fish. They're autonomous, so as long as you're next to somebody with him, you bring out the water, you pop the fish on there, you get like 4 fish tokens out of all of this nonsense. Yeah, because you take a free action, generate your water. Take a power action, generate your fish. Take a free action to get another fish out. You got 4 fish out somehow. And then you attack with at least 3 of them, and they're autonomous. They miss because they have 8 attack. and you bring out another character, probably somebody better like Aqua or Wonder Woman. Who knows? So he's a lame duck character. He's not the best of the Trouble Alert characters, but he is not necessarily bad in the sense of bad versus good kind of Trouble Alert usable, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think, Jay?
I think my main takeaway from him is that he came out a little too late, because if he had existed at the same time as his ID card, he would have been played all the time, because the inspiration there was +1 to stats if they're doing if they're in water. So
oh gosh,
can you imagine? Also, that rock age is still a thing. So
okay, so in that sense, then you call in this Aquaman. No, this isn't going to work the way I think it is, because inspiration now triggers when the character comes in.
Right, but it's just let me pull it up.
It's not an aura. What that means?
No, but like
the fish that he brings out are not going to get the inspiration from him.
No,
right?
Unfortunately,
because here's where my brain was going. He comes in, he calls in the fish. On the old way that ID cards worked, he would give them all +1 to their stats on the old inspiration rules. Plus, he'd have the empower. You'd have 3 damage coming out of those fish.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
It's a good thing they changed that. Now, granted, these fish are doing 2 damage if you go the route of bringing them out next to Aquaman and on a Trouble Alert, and he's got the empower, so that's a cool thing, right? It's just not a great thing.
But as far as the modern game goes, like, I guess you can play him with King Shark, but like you could just play King Aquaman. Like, he has a little bit of a longer dial, but I could see myself playing him at full points in casual, because it is still a decently long dial. His making water should be able to mitigate all that stuff, and all the super friends are really cheap, so you could theoretically get a water map. But as far as the current modern competitive game goes, he's not going to be making much of a splash.
Mm. All right. Next up, the final preview this week is Hawkman. Hawkman has Justice League Super Friends as well. He's got a Trouble Alert as well. His weakness is characters that don't fly. And then he's got a special attack power, Contagious Laughter, via pun at the end of the episode. Power, roll a d6 for each adjacent character. On a 4 to 6, give that character an action token. And then he's a Hawkman after that. I mean, like, he's sidestepping with a really high attack with close combat experts. So the idea is you bring him in, and maybe this will be the guy that hits really hard for you. Then you rethink your life and go back to never rolling dice again. But not a bad choice for your Trouble Alerts. I wouldn't be angry if I pulled him in one of my cases or one of my packs as a chase. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, he's fine. Like, he's definitely one of the better ones with that ridiculous power. Although you would do it to mind, it can affect your own characters, but still, I mean, this is not a bad thing to put on your sideline and maybe randomly get. That is absolutely for sure. And 50-50 chances of pseudo incapacitate is really good. And also rock age, incredible inspiration, so, and really cheap. So a lot of options there. I don't think you're playing this as a character in Sealed, though. Unless you really need a taxi?
50 points, taxi, sidestep. I mean, either 30 or 50 points is playable as a taxi.
Yeah. This is definitely one of those sets where not a lot of people are going to fly, so.
That's a fair point.
Using your chase as a taxi, that's a weird scenario.
I mean, there's Wonder Woman in common, and there's Superman in the rare slot, I think he is.
No, both of those are rare.
You sure?
Yeah, the Wonder Woman and Superman are like 0. They're like adjacent collector numbers. Either way. Oh, you're just gonna put your fingers.
I didn't do that. What are you talking about? Batman Beyond, he flies. There's that.
Yeah, he's a common. He's good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Notice I'm focusing on your face so nobody sees what I'm doing right now.
I don't know. Wait, where'd you go? I don't know what you're doing.
Yes. Okay, yeah, Wonder Woman is a rare. Cool. So, you know what? The new card system, it's interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, it's differently good for sorting and for.
It's obnoxious because common and rare look so similar.
Yeah, I still have people asking me if figures are like that, but it's a good thing that the pack has a guide for that now.
It does kind of, yeah. But when you're looking directly at when you're using the cards as your basis, it's not so great. Anyway, I'm gonna stop cheating at what I'm doing and just say that you're right, there isn't a great deal of flyers in the set, so that Hawkman does go a lot further in that sense. So, all right, so Canadian Nationals is this weekend, Jay. Now, last week we spent a lot of time doing the numbers game and figuring out how much is out there and how much we have to worry about and what we have to take into consideration. You're judging now, I guess. Is that right?
I have been judging. They asked me on Friday.
They asked Amber this week, but she's really bent on being part of enjoying herself, is what she said.
Well, yeah, last I heard she was playing testing that team for a while now. Like I remember Emily mentioning them play testing at like the last Open.
Well, what she was play testing in the last Open was a variation of something that we didn't end up running, if I remember correctly.
Okay. But either way, it's,
What you play tested with Emily at the Open wasn't anything you...
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay, cool.
But either way, she's been working on it. So
no, both...
I put a lot of playtesting hours in myself, so I wasn't necessarily upset, but I wasn't necessarily thrilled either, unfortunately. But either way, yes, Jay is judging.
All right. So then does that mean you haven't been doing a lot of thinking about what's out there, or have you been putting more thought into what it's out there so you understand all the corner case rulings?
There have been a lot of weird ones, like what happened if both players have a Groot and then one person would place their Walking Woods and not make a place for the opponent's Leslie Evans, but then I figured that one out because apparently there's like a sentence somewhere randomly in the rule book about first player is active player until at the beginning of the game phase. But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. Like what happens if Surtur critical misses? Does he get his after effect? Or like a lot of, critical miss stuff, Mystic stuff, although Mystic's not that common anymore. But I've been seeing a lot of weird cases in my other judging.
Yeah. One of the things I am noticing in great deal is that now is the time to understand the rule of the controlling player. Because if things happen at the same time, the active player still gets to choose the order of things, correct?
Sorry, what was it? Sorry.
If things happen at the same time, so let's say we have 5 different effects. This is just I'm throwing a ballpark stupid number out, but let's say 5 things happen at the end or after actions resolve. It is my turn when all of these things trigger. I choose the order of these things still, correct?
Yeah, except for ones that are immediate, like pushing. But yes, essentially.
Is pushing not an after actions resolve?
Sorry, what?
Is pushing not part of actions or the actions resolving? Or you're talking about the damage being triggered on the second action token?
Pushing damage, yeah. Pushing damage is immediately after resolutions.
Immediately after resolutions, so okay. So there's an actual.
But basically, yeah. If there's like 5 things, like if you flurry a Mystic and you steal energy or whatever, there's a lot of active player stuff going on there.
Yeah. Well, I think this actually came up. I had stopped up while you guys were playing Heroclix in Comic Warehouse. I had to read up on this because Mystics now reads after resolutions.
Yep.
Right. And because Surtur happens after resolutions, if you hit the character, they have Mystics, you do the damage, then you choose whether you do the Surtur damage or take the Mystics first.
Yeah, at the Open, Asia had one situation where she critical missed, and that is immediate, and then one where she hit a Mystic. So it was really funny having to see that they were actually different scenarios.
Yeah.
But I think there are some more common ones, like the Flora one really annoys me. How people think that Floras can't attack even after they heal, except for the fact that when the Flora heals, it doesn't have the power Colossal Indifference. Same with Mangog, because he heals off of that click with his trait. so he doesn't have the power Colossal Indifference showing anymore.
So wait, so if they started that turn with Colossal Indifference, that means they don't have Colossal Indifference. They do have it for the turn. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying people think that if Mangog, Odin Swords.
Oh, okay, yeah. You know what? I know that sounded like there's a large number of people. I feel like that's still an isolated store. And sometimes what happens is an incorrect judge ruling gets made that affects, say, 30 people who go to the store. This a ballpark rough, let's say, that happened number, right? So if 30 people go to the store and 30 people trust this judge's ruling goes to those 30 people. Then those 30 people go to another venue, and then that's when they find out, like, wait, what?
I see this question coming up more often than it should, given that it should be relatively simple, where if you don't have a power showing, the power's effects aren't in effect.
Right.
But I do think that one of the more generally confusing ones is like when multiple actions happen at once, like the Flurry Steel Energy thing. A lot of people are confused by, or Flurry Mystics, or Flurry a lot of stuff.
So how does Flurry work with Steel Energy and Mystics?
Well, each of those is a trigger, and if you're flurrying and supposing you hit twice in either scenario, each of those effects will trigger once each, because Mystic says each time you hit the Mystic.
Yeah.
So if you flurry a Mystic and hit twice, you're taking 2 separate instances of Mystics after resolutions. Right. So,
yep.
But yeah, read up on your pack and just look in the rule book and check out the timing stuff. Like the timing chart is very useful. Like, I've seen a lot of questions where it's like, oh, how does this effect work? Where it's very similar to your effect, except the fact that if you read the timing and whatever, you can actually interpret a lot of those much easier. The rulebook is much better now for answering questions.
One of those neat things about this rulebook is the rules are very simple for a new player to understand. For a player who's been playing this game for a while, oh my goodness.
It's a weird inverse situation with the rulebook.
Yeah. And that's one of those things when you get set on, and this is why I ask questions the way I do. It's like, hey, this is how this used to work. Is this still how this works? I have a ton of questions still in regards to rules, but I still also can generally parse my way through the information for the most part.
Yeah. Or I find a lot of the time also that people assume that everything is different. Like they assume that things don't work how they used to. Like I've been asked if Charge Blade still works because I guess people just assume I don't know what the rules anymore. Literally everything's different. So it's a little bit of a weird getting used to it period.
Yeah.
The rules.
Oh my goodness. Apparently Hulk Hogan has decided to jump in the chat. Gone. That was an interesting little adventure. The live chat lately has been a minefield of bots and stupid, and it's it's getting a little annoying at times. I'm not gonna lie. Like our last patron hangout, we had a bunch of bots just throwing nasty language out there, and it was ridiculous. Like it's, my goodness. Oh, wonderful! I think another one's back too.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. I got to watch that username because it's an offensive username, and now I have a feeling it's going to be an offensive
picture too.
What? Oh, and
the live chat is interesting.
The live chat, here's the thing: when you start getting hit with this weird stuff, does that mean you're relevant now?
Or it's like how when we used to post stuff on the Facebook page about Avengers Infinity, we get all the bots about, watch Avengers Infinity, blah, 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 all that nonsense.
Yeah. Oh, dude. All right. Anyway, it's back on the Heroclix topic.
We did that.
Now we talked. Is there any other complicated rulings you're anticipating and had to look up that you think people should know and should start preparing for right now, Jay?
I think the Groot stuff is probably where you should be concentrating on because there are a lot of weird things. Like, this is a fun one because it's pretty relevant. So because there's 10 million Giant Girl teams, there's a lot of expanded starting areas. But you can't place a Leslie Evans in the expanded part because part of the rulebook says that when an effect references the starting area, it's only the original purple whatever squares, not any expanded part. So that is one that I'm sure people will mess up, and I will have to keep an eye out for. Basically, Groot giving your opponent a character is just a minefield of weird stuff going on. And he is kind of very relevant right now. So, yeah, that one. Anything with Groot.
Yeah, that's actually one that's come up. There's a couple maps where my team stops Leslie Evans from showing up. And I was like, yeah!
But you do like the swarmy stuff, so yeah.
One day I was going to be the guy that filled the starting area. You're right. It was
starting areas are weirdly small now. Like on Muir Island or whatever, it's like a small 4x3 patch, I think, in one of them. Although one of them is bigger.
Yeah. Now, there's another ruling about the starting area that I would like you to address as well, and that is the idea that you only get one expansion of the starting area, and anything that can't make.
Sorry, you were.
That. Oh,
you were cutting out a little there.
I'm cutting out. Okay, let's try this again. There's a weird ruling there's a ruling with the starting area where you only get one expansion, and then anything so you get one row, one column is the rule, and then anything that doesn't fit in that one row or one column is gone. Is that right? Is that how that works, or
no?
Are you sure?
I thought you expanded until. I literally have the rule book open so I can sit down and do a good read.
I believe this might be mentioned in the comprehensive rules. That extra document that came out.
Oh, here we go. Let's see. Yeah, if so, increase all starting areas by one row and one column, and continue this until each player's starting force fits their respective starting area. So, seems like you just go at it again and again until you're good.
In a rare case, if players force to increase on one row, one column, and continue this. Okay, sorry, my bad. I read that wrong. It was also, you know what? Yeah, it was a ruling that was specific to 3x6 bases, which they don't make anymore, and there aren't any in modern. There was the issue where, on that ruling, if you put a Brainiac skull ship in the office, you kill it because it can't be placed in a legal.
What about the ruling that if you expand your starting area and there's non-standard terrain, it turns regular until you leave the starting area? Is that not a thing?
That's not listed here. It's
it might be old rules.
Effects that refer to a starting area and blah blah blah. Any game elements that can't be placed in the original starting area after it's been expanded, its maximum outcome are considered KO'd. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about getting rid of any terrain, and I think this is comprehensive rule book, page 2.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who might be wondering what we're talking about, the comprehensive rule book is separate of the rule book. The rule book is a physical document we can get in the starter set, whereas the comprehensive rule book is an online only document that is on the WizKids site. So
the thing with the rule book also is that there's as much that's in there now as much as is missing, like how critical misses on incapacitate didn't deal the damage before, but now they do.
Yeah, they do again. Part. Like the critical miss damage no longer lists a damage an attack that would deal damage. Now it's just an attack in general.
Yeah, so you can
it's back to the old way. Yeah, back to the old way, kids.
Or how falling down damage being ignored by flyers isn't a thing.
Yeah.
So gotta really read that stuff carefully.
They just took that out of the flyers. Another neat thing is that a character who has flight has all the bonuses of being a flyer. So like the Ninja Turtles who have flight, they can carry.
Yeah. That's pretty relevant because they're good. So
yeah. It's
but yeah. I'm gonna have to really give these a good read again because there's a lot of fine details.
Yeah, the comprehensive rule book is the thing when you're going into these events that are big. You need to kind of take a quick glance through, especially when you start coming across corner cases that your team's starting to make and they're not necessarily in the rule book. They might be covered in that comprehensive book before you have to go into the WINS rules forum. Sometimes one of those two documents has it. After that, that's when you go into the rules forum. I actually kind of wonder right now how many people are asking the question on Groot. It's like, hey, how does this work? I know myself and Amber, when we first came up, we put in a rules question, but then the more and more I read it, it's like, well, they're going to deny it, and this is it's in the rule book to a certain degree. So we'll see. They might not deny it, or they might hear it on this, hear it, the discussion come up, and then decide that it's worth putting the ruling up on, because it's been a long time since the competitive metagame has had this particular type of problem. So
there's a lot of weird pieces in the competitive game right now. The standard game is very simple, but when you have special stuff, it just gets really wonky.
Yeah, and competitive play is the world of special stuff. I mean, it's everything special, everything's awesome, and nothing functions normally, if that makes sense. That's why Fast was so dominant for so long.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's interesting. There's actually some new rulings today, and they answered a very important question, which is, now that we have ID cards with double characters like Iceman's, they clarified you need each character for each ID card. So no, you cannot play 2 Iceman ID cards with 1 chase. You have to get 2 chases.
I had a feeling that would be the ruling, and then I'm pretty sure Troll and Toad just hit a multiplier on their Iceman chase prices, if they even have any in stock.
I would doubt that they do.
I don't think anybody has an Iceman chase in stock, and if you're holding on to one, guys, just now is the time to sell it, because it's not gonna stop being awesome. It's still a source of running shot pulse. Wait, hold on before I eat my words here. He's 175 to call in with you're calling top dial, right? Or is that 150?
Yeah, 175.60.
175 or 60. Okay. And the 60 is generally what you're planning on calling in for the most part, right?
Yeah, nothing. The only character that's even close to relevant that can call in at full points is Goblin King, and he's not necessarily seeing so much play.
Yeah.
Because you're playing the full point version with like an object, so you have very little room for ID cards.
Yeah. It's worth it. You see, these are the things, these are the conversations people need to be having. So we're going to have them for them. That's a wonderful thing about sharing our ideas. It's a very slow week as far as information for Heroclix, especially when you consider we're focusing on practicing Canadian Nationals this weekend. This is our focus. So we're kind of having this natural conversations that we have when nobody's around or when we're generally hanging out talking Heroclix, so that people can understand the kind of conversations you need to be having, the kind of conversations other players are having, and that kind of stuff, right? I mean, last week was I just wanted to shock people with how very few figures we were playing. I arranged this whole shock value thing. By the time we get to the end of the pre-rotation on this meta, I want to do that number count again to see if that percentage hits like less than 5. Just out of curiosity, you know what I mean?
The numbers are weird for this coming set because it's all sideline.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's going to be approximately 12 usable figures in the set minimum. All 12 of them chases. But all 12 of them perfectly fine. Almost none of them starting on your board, like you said, yeah. And it's been a while since I've been like, I need to collect all the chases for a set. It's been a long time since I've had to do that. But I'm looking at this set, and it's like, there's 2 players in this house. And they both have a habit of missing when it counts. So,
yeah.
All right. So I think we've got all of our ruling stuff covered for the most part. Anything else you think we need to discuss going into the Canadian Nationals weekend?
Probably archetypes. Which is not a word you hear so often in this game or other games.
Because the archetypes for this game have been solved since have been discussed since day one, for the most part. Like it is some form of a one figure does great, loses everything else, or loses itself, and then everything else is not going to do well. There's the well-balanced team, which has a bunch of functional pieces. There's a swarm team where everything is trying to do a bunch of stuff and it's got a bunch of bonuses. Those are the 3 base archetypes. Like there's sub-archetypes of that. And I mean, a lot of the time the archetypes from this major ground that we talked about when we go below here are defined by the characters that are being used, right? So, but what any specific ones you want to shine a light on?
I do not want to sit across from the team that has like multiple retaliators and like other good, like Scott Granton's team of what was it? Sam and then a whole bunch of retaliators and a taxi, whatever. So Sam jumps across the map, does a call-in, and then you hit, and then, there's too many retaliators to kill, so there's going to be a Carnage coming after me, and a Surtur coming after me, and giant girls retaliating on top of retaliation. Like, there's too many retaliators to kill. Like, these giant girls are threats, and they're 10 points. Even a Brute X can only kill so many.
Yeah.
So...
And when you get to that point, you kind of look at it and say, how many can I kill in one shot with a character that I don't mind losing? Right? Because that's the giant girl effect that I look at, and I see that, and I say, okay, so I'm going to walk my walking woods up. This is the best options that I got. Maybe catch one and do damage to it. Then let it get retaliated on or attacked or whatever, but then make sure I intelligently position my Surtur. But then I'm saying this, and then people are going to intelligently place their giant girls. So this is a conversation that ends up going on in everybody's head. So you got to meter the point to win loss kind of thing, and understand what your follow-ups are as well. You got to think 4 or 5 actions ahead, and 4 or 5 turns ahead. It's one thing I feel like I'm fairly good at, and if you see me slow down on a turn, it's because somebody has done something that has taken. I am a computer when it comes to my actions in a turn, right? And so I will plan my 4. I generally find a way to make 4 to 8 actions in a turn. I'm a wacky one like that. I'll line up my actions. I'll say, okay, this is what my plan is to do, and this is all based on the possible outcomes of these 3 or 4 different things, which are I'm generally basing it on the smartest outcomes, the things I would do. Now, if they go against my outcome planning, or they do something that is super beneficial to me, that's when I have to take a second and go, I don't want to overcommit to this, or what am I missing? That's when I slow down. But that's why, for the most part, you see me go through turns like that, because I'm using my opponent's turn to plan my turn. And that's one of the... I can't stress this enough for if you're going into competitive play for the first time, because there's a lot of players going to Canadian Nationals who this is going to be their first competitive environment tournament for. And this is the best piece of advice I can give you from player to player. Look at what you're planning to do for your turns while your opponent is making the actions based on what you would do in your opponent's shoes. Anyway. That was a tangent off of the mention of Giant Girl and how I would be thinking about it. And you said the Scott Crampton Sam Cap was one possible archetype. Was there another archetype you think is going to be fairly relevant? You probably have a little deeper knowledge. You've been looking at them a little bit more than I have. Most of my information is based on what I saw at U.S. Nationals. So.
I've seen some Avengers, I guess. Yeah, Avengers theme teams with the giant girls that can do some really crazy stuff, like using a lot of giant girls and theoretically the title Wasp to expand your starting area out so that your Chase Hawkeye can actually just be shooting really, really far because of the expanded starting area. And then if they hit him, he's pretty soft defensively, but if you perplex him up and whatever, you TK him out and all that good stuff, and he hits everybody on their team, you're just going to be able to retaliate with like 10 giant girls. It's pretty nuts.
Now, here's an interesting question on that. Is that a more aware player, how many giant girls does that have to run in order to make that work? And then are they also managing to fill out the column or the row and column section in that? Like they have like a ring of giant girls as they slowly increase them all out, or? I'm
trying to remember what the team that Derek played was like. Yeah, it was I think at least 2 Fast Forces, Giant Girls, Title, Main Set, Hydra Cab, Pocket Tank, Hawkeye, maybe even a Yellow Jacket. It was like at least 50% of the team was Giant Girls. Okay. So
just making sure, because that's one thing I'm going to enforce if I see that across the table. Like, you're filling up the columns, right? Because you got to fill up the whole starting area before you start expanding starting areas, right? So.
Well, he was playing Genosha, which is like 5x5. So
that one.
That's the problem. Yeah. These maps are and it's already expanded to begin with. It's so conducive to this team.
Yeah, and just I don't want to carry that.
Yeah, so Retaliators right now are just so important because, yeah, you have the giant girl factor and all that stuff, but then you have the point where you have your 25-point Surtur who can kill anything with enough perplexes. Like, he can be 12-5 with 2 perplexes and then deal extra damage with the retaliation. Or you have the Pog generators that aren't a huge commitment. Like, it's not like people are playing Devil Dinosaur. It's, I have my Brute X who kills 3 things, makes 3 Pogs. I have Carnage. I have Groot. Like, you have non-point commitments making these insane Pogs, and then you have to deal with them because they either have plasticity or are that good. You get a lot of bang for your buck now, essentially. So your tentpole is not going to necessarily have the best time against the ridiculous Pog swarm that your opponent's investing maybe 50 points in.
Yeah. Well, this is the other thing I think about when I think about characters like people playing the Goblin King. Like, you got to kill something first, man. Something might get you. Yeah, all it takes is a really good retaliation on you, and then all of a sudden you're surrounded by plasticity things and other stupid nonsense.
Even a Unimind Lockjaw can only kill so many things because also the Walking Woods have toughness. Like, toughness is actually important right now. Like, it really is. It's been a surprising amount of times where it was like, oh, I have Chamber, but you have, a character with Reducer. There's only so many things he can kill, or, I want to be multi-targeting, but also you have toughness, so there's only so much damage I can do and whatnot. So, yeah. It's a really weird scenario where, like, a couple years ago, we were like, oh, Devil Dinosaur is so good. He makes all these Pogs, but it's like now, for the same number of points, you can play a Groot, a Carnage, or you can play 2 Groots. Start with 2 Groots, because that's good. You start off with 4 Pogs. Carnage is 10. That's only 50 points for half of what you pay for Devil Dinosaur. It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's weird. Threat assessment is so hard right now. Like, what? You killed a 0-point Pog, and then you have Retaliators jumping on you and making more? Like, what? What is this game right now?
This game is also being fairly dominated by a cosmic theme team. I mean, you got that version that has Star Fox, Infinity, 2 Groots, and what else was on? Unseen. Using ID cards with the Unseen is a very solid option. It's funny how the role has reversed, where Nick Fury is now calling in the ID card as opposed to being called in by the ID card.
Right.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. There's an openness to it, but like we said last week, there's a limited openness. Like, there's multiple combinations, but all these combinations involve the same characters. Giant Girls are on many teams. Sam Cap is on many teams. Star Fox is on many versions of many teams. Mjolnir is on any team that has a Star Fox. What else? Shredder is still relevant. Never stop planning for a Shredder. Always be prepared on how to deal with a Shredder. Goblin King is relevant in multiple forms. I've seen Dr. Frankenstein show up. I'm Dr. Frankenstein, guys.
Yeah, I think Groot gave Monster Theme that little bit of an edge that it really that push.
It gave that over the edge part where it's like, this is viable, because we had Carnage. Carnage made it viable. Carnage said maybe there's something to Monster, and then Groot's like, oh yeah, there's something to Monster. Because you could really, really pull off some Monster Swarm teams. And I think I lost Jay all of a sudden, so I'm going to keep the vamping going as I take a second to. Oh, there he is. You paused out, so I don't know if you still heard me while I was doing that. But
I couldn't hear you at all. I thought you.
All right, cool.
This says chat. The YouTube chat says disconnected and then reconnected. I don't know.
Weird. I wonder if my internet's messing up. I haven't actually taken. Nobody's mentioned that we've lost videos, so thank goodness. I do have plans on how to readdress our setup. I just have to do it and just actually functionally get. Because one of my goals right now is to get some music for this show, so that we have a starting thing. So you guys, if you're watching the archives, you no longer see Hangouts on air. When you start, you'll actually see some pretty title card and stuff and I'll figure something else out to go with it as well. Sorry. So continuing on with the archetypes. So we've talked about the swarm, the mass. colossals, as it were. We've discussed the Star Fox. We discussed that there's a meta with a lot of different characters. I know last week we started talking about how Darwin might be an option. Don't forget about the Wolverine swarms. I don't know how.
Oh my God,
Wolverine swarms. Don't ignore it. It's a thing. If you're building a cosmic team, consider Mangog.
Mangog can wreck those guys really good.
Mangog could, in one fell swoop, just absolutely murder the entire. Because that swarm does rely on carrying them all with Lila Cheney, right? They don't have a reliable way to get their defenses up, so they're stuck with the 17 defense. But Mangog, if I remember correctly, only has a 10, right? 10 attack.
Yeah, you're correct there.
So he's not like gonna do it, but if you bring some perplex in some way, I think he has cosmic. He's cosmic deity.
Yes, he does. I mean, there's a character that has 2 uses of perplexity. He's okay.
He's all right. Yeah. I mean, if you're playing that Unimind team, go for it. There's also the Star Fox, like we said, who's part of that cosmic team. Yeah. So there's a few options there to get that attack up, and you can really just kind of go bam, bam. Thank you, man. But that will require something getting hit in the first place, because retaliation doesn't work without the retaliating part, as it were. So you have to give something up to get their entire team, but you'll get their entire team. Or at least one Wolverine again. Because here's the thing. Now that we've said this, and this is how this works, unfortunately what's going to happen is they're going to pull up their Wolverines. They're going to do something with one Wolverine, or even with all 4 Wolverines. Not even. They're going to do something with the one Wolverine, call in with another Wolverine, and then once they're done doing the damage that they can, they're going to drag back, hope they scored more than 50 points, and let that one Wolverine who can perform an attack just take the Mangog in the face. So
yeah, that team is essentially conducive to the call-ins that can poof themselves. Like, you can call in a Cyclops, perplex it 100 times, and then running shot poof off the map.
Yep.
All by himself.
So always, this is something that I remember from my wrestling coaches. Every time he would teach us a move, he would teach us the counter to that move. And the reason for that is you need to know both. 1, to perform it, and 2, to counter the counter, as it were. You're taught the double leg takedown at the same time as you're taught the sprawl. And then you're taught the sprawl knowing how to deal with or what it is, so you can either stop it, stuff it, or get your way around it. So that's what you want to do when you come up with these strategies. So we have the Wolverine. We said Mangog is an option, but at the same time, the Wolverine can counter the Mangog counter by playing intelligent. The Shredders don't have a direct counter as much as they have attack them, do damage, just eventually kill them. That's your hard counter to Shredder. Like, everything that exists in the game is already capable of damaging them. It's just a matter of keeping them dead, and that involves lots of attacks, which is conducive of how we kill Star Foxes, which is one of 2 ways. 1, you call in Chamber adjacent to them, get some pumps on that Chamber's attack, poison, then attack, and make sure you use your Force Blast to knock back into a wall or off of a building. Star Fox is done. And then you have the rest of the team to deal with.
You can kill one thing, but then you have the whole rest of the team to deal with, sort of thing. Like, outside of Unimind being 150, like, what's really the highest point thing being played right now?
Unimind. No. The 270-point Goblin King is being played. I cannot ignore that.
No, but as far as enough to crack, like, the realistic things you're gonna see, like, I don't know if the big names are playing the Goblin King, or is the Goblin King winning stuff right now?
He got to a top 8. Actually, I think it was one in the top 16 of U.S. Nationals, and then it got knocked out. I don't know. I'm basically here to say you were there. You would know.
I was
demoing other WizKids games, right?
Huh?
You were demoing other WizKids games. Right?
I was watching the top 16 and up. I don't remember seeing much of that, but it exists. But I don't know if it's the most relevant thing to be worried about talking about. But
absolutely. If something like the Goblin King it's a thing that's being played, you have to know that it exists, and you have to be ready for its existence. Mm-hmm. But that, what does that entail? Does that entail I need to make sure it dies on the first go? Does it entail I'm going to be playing a long con against it, and then I have to be prepared to play that particularly long game where I'm chasing down a Goblin King and eventually getting one pop off on it? You have to know how this is going to go down ahead of time, and that's part of building your team. So Goblin King, though he doesn't have a direct counter, you've got to find a way to spread your reach. I'm not saying this is the thing. Don't take this as spread your team. That is called losing 101. But spread your reach. Be available and more squares of the map as soon and fast as possible, because that is what will help you deal with somebody like a Goblin King or something else that will stick and run like a Unimind. And at the same time, you have to be ready to throw as many attacks as you can at it.
Yeah, the Wolverines definitely do help with that.
Absolutely.
As is the Chases having Flurry, as is Retaliation, upon Retaliation, a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And I'm not even like at one point I was thinking, who's going to play 4 Wolverines in Canada? Then I started watching the trade posts. I got to be ready for 4 Wolverines. That's just life now. That is my life, is being ready for that. I considered playing it at one point, but then I was like, it's a swarmy, but it's not me. It's not a me.
Yeah, it's not quite a swarm. It's kind of weird.
It's a crowd. It's an Alpha Strikey crowd. That's what it is. So,
Alpha Strikey Wolverines. That's weird.
Anyway, that's kind of our first glance, our first thoughts. You've got a couple days to get your way through and figure out what your plan is for this event. And what your plan is for dealing with the competitive metagame. Good luck. Look at these figures. If I didn't necessarily say everything, I can't. We don't have enough time. Right? There's not enough time in the day for me to sit down and go over all the possibilities. You kind of got to go over the finite ones, the major ones, the things you got to know about. Groot exists. Be aware of Groot's existence. And find a way to either kill him first or be ready to deal with the retaliation and score more points than him somehow. Surtur exists, so if you're planning on using your defenses, just squash that dream now. It's a pipe dream at best. And just consider all of these things when you are building your team for this major event. I'm going to be there. Jay's going to be judging. Amber's going to be there. It's an exciting time for all of us.
We're finally back to a time where we have constructed grinders. That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's let's go over that, because this is the element outside of the direct game that is worth talking about, in the sense that we're what a grinder is, for those of you unfamiliar. When you have a major event like a Nationals, the day prior to that, there'll be 2 days. There'll be the qualifying day and then the day of the event. Now, U.S. and Canadian Nationals run a little differently in this sense, where U.S. Nationals, they had 8-man pickup tournaments where they were single elimination. The winner was qualified for the U.S. Nationals. Second place was halfway qualified for U.S. Nationals. And third and fourth, did they score any points, or did they just walk out with some figures?
So if they scored second?
First place got you 8. Second place got you 4 points. You needed 8 points to get into Nationals. Did third and fourth get anything?
I think they got I think you get the con if you win one game, but that's it.
Okay. Yeah.
So no.
This is not the important stuff, because for these events, Canadian Nationals is going to run slightly differently. There will be 4 different tournaments. 2 of them will be constructed, and 2 of them will be sealed. So there is 4 chances for you to play on Sunday, starting on Saturday. Okay. So Saturday is day 1, where you're going to be playing your qualifying tournaments, assuming you are not qualified by winning a WKO first. Okay, so if you won, and this is not one of the summer WKOs do not factor in here. If you won one of the more recent, within the past week or 2, those WKO wins don't factor in until 2019. That said, WKO wins prior to, this will be the 2017 fall, spring, and then the winter WKOs for 2018, right? So the beginning of the year. Those if you won one of those events, you are pre-qualified for Canadian Nationals. You are playing on Sunday already. Have some fun with Battle Royales with me. If not, these 4 qualifying events occur at 4 different times. I'm going to pull up. I should have actually started doing this while I was.
Yeah, I think ideally they should all run separately, but there might be some overlap, which is not ideal. They've always
tried to run them separately, and this is why we call them grinders. If you don't win one, you play in the next one. If you don't win that one, you play in the next one. You don't win that one, congratulations. Don't plan on getting any sleep. You're going to be a tired mess for the next day.
Yeah, 2015? We were up until 10 for the last grinder at the earliest, I think.
Yeah, that was the one where I had like godly pulls for the.
It was Captain Marvel and something else crazy good. Yeah,
it was Captain Marvel and Star-Lord made up my team, and everything else just made them better. So that was an amazing. Like I have no qualms about the fact that was all pull power. All right, so they have it listed a little weird. It's 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 4 p.m., and then 6 p.m. I don't think that 6 p.m. is happening. I think that's going to be a 7 p.m. I feel like that might be a typo, or
especially because you pre-register for these. Like if you So
anyway, so the first qualifier, 10 a.m. start time, 300 points, modern age, sealed. Well, come on, guys. Okay, so first one is sealed. That's at 10 a.m. $40 entry fee. That probably denotes the fact that it's going to be Infinity. I mean, who are we kidding? It's Infinity sealed.
Mm-hmm.
So you build a 300-point team and you try to get your way. The top half will get a con ID. The bottom half get an ID card, and then for every 4 players, the top 4 or for every 4 players, a person will qualify. So if 16 people play in the first sealed qualifier, the top 4 will qualify for Sunday.
25th percentile, in other words.
Yeah, the 25th percentile. I think my explanation was probably the better for everybody. The second tournament at 1 p.m. is constructed, 300-point modern age. Once again, multiple rounds of Swiss. I'd plan on them being each 3 rounds of Swiss. And then once again, same thing, top 50%, so on and so forth. Then at 4 p.m., it's listed as another sealed one. Now it's $20 for the constructed, $40 for the sealed. This is Canadian dollars, so if you're in the U.S., that's about $1.50. No, just kidding. It's not as much as that, though, once you do the conversion. Convert your money on the way in. It's probably a good idea. You never get a good deal trying to convert at where you're purchasing your stuff. So do it at like the duty-free or at a bank while you can now. As well for financial, while you're eating food, I'd suggest if you're looking for the best value for your exchange rate, the best way to get it is through credit card. Be smart and pay for it as soon as possible, but that's where you get the best exchange rate on anything. And then, of course, the last round of qualifiers is a constructed qualifier, the 4th tournament, that's dangerous, man, because constructed teams are complicated. And when you're starting to get into that nighttime grind of a tournament, well, that's where mistakes happen. I want to watch that event. I just kind of want to sit back with a beer and watch what's going on.
The last time we did it, it was the other way around. It was sealed, constructed, which I think is probably better.
Last time it was the other way around because you just said the way it was. So it was last time it was constructed.
Yeah. We ended with sealed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, because I remember that I kicked butt in my first 2 games in that. And in the 3rd game, I was like, well, I did so well in the first 2 games. It was great. And I keep telling this story constantly. This constantly comes up. There was one year where I was like, this is great. I did fantastic. I went 2-1 with really good points. What do you mean the win messed up and mispaired things? Oh, it's my nightmare situation. It's happened to me. It happened to me so often. And never trust the win, guys. Never trust the win. And drops really ruin it on big scale tournaments.
Yeah. Anyway,
so plan your day around this. Some players are a little bit more comfortable with sealed than they are with constructed because of the having situation. I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't have that. So go sealed. Sealed is the first one, and that's the one where everybody walks in even, and then you open the packs, and then it's whatever you get, right? The second one is constructed. That's where we're going to get our first taste of what people are playing. But because of the qualification nature, there's a lot of players whose teams we may not know about or not know what they're playing. And that's information if we don't have, sometimes that can really throw people off because, it's myself. Nobody knows what I'm playing necessarily. I think I've talked to enough people about it. That's not necessarily a secret, but I am playing. I do have to put my team on Majestics. I meant to do that this weekend, and I messed up big time on that. I'm going to try to have that to them by the end of the week. Anyway, but that's
I was going to say that in addition to what you were saying, the grinder constructed meta is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. You're not worried about winning. You just need to do good enough.
Yeah, good enough is a lot of it. Now, there's two ways to do good enough. Play a team that is very hard to kill and kill very little, and a 3-0 gets you in.
Play you can play a Mike Payne, or you could play an actual team.
Well, to go back to that, the year we went to Montreal for the Canadian Nationals, or when Canadian Nationals was in Montreal, I played a team, and I scored on average 100 points per game, and that was 100 points more than my team could lose because I ended up pulling a Juggernaut, the Mystique from Uncanny X-Men, the one that was really hard to get your hands on, and I ended up playing like a Harpoon and something else, and I was just like, these things will never live through a game. I don't even know what I'm doing with my life, and it was just Juggernaut running through teams and not dying, and Mystique attacking here and there, but just for the most part getting in the way.
Never underestimate Force Blast either.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like, I'm gonna move to your Mystique. Well, I'm just gonna move and Force Blast that guy out of the way because I ignore characters for movement, and
or your Prism just dies in one shot because knockback damage.
I did kill one Prism in that tournament, I think. No, yes, it was Mike Payne's Prism, I think.
Nice.
Mike Payne, incidentally, the only guy who did damage to my Juggernaut. So anyway, this is something that can happen in Sealed as well. So I can't stress enough, 3 wins is the safest way to qualify. 2-1 is a reasonable way to get in, but you need to make sure you're scoring points when you're doing that. You cannot do that if you're playing, you can't go 2-1 if you're doing what I did with the Juggernaut. If I would have lost against Amber in that third round of that grinder, neither me or her would have qualified. It was not good because I was. If you're scoring low and there's weird numbers of players, there's a good chance you're getting paired down, which means you're playing the highest point loser, which in the grand scale of pairings looks good, but at the same time, it could end up messing 2 people up when you get into that third round. So be aware of what's going on in the world.
But you don't want a situation where nobody benefits from the win.
Oh, no. Yeah. But at the same time, you cannot really collude your way out of a game.
No.
It's a big
no.
Nope. But you can look at it and say, I'm going to play like crap because I'm already qualified. Thanks, Howard. Yeah, so that's the best advice we can really add to the grand table. We'll be there if you have any questions. I'm going to try to bring the metagame with me. It's not very many figures, so it should fit in a box. And whatever I have that people may need to borrow, come see me. Not in the middle of a game, please. If I'm in the middle of Battle Royale, let me have fun. Say hi and be like, can I talk to you after? And I'll be like, yeah, sure. We can talk after, and go hang out and grab your own Battle Royale, and we'll discuss. I mean, I'm staying in the hotel in the venue, so I'm accessible. Anybody from the area, please let me know if there's any good barbecue places there, because last time we went, we grabbed ribs and chicken at like one really nice little hole in the wall type place. It was really good. So I don't know. Google Maps is not helping me on the food situation right now, so I'm gonna there.
Now's as good a time as any to mention that PJ started that awesome borrowing group. So that's a good resource.
Yep, there's the Heroclix Moochers Club. Be careful with that. I cannot stress that enough. PJ is moderating the best he can. If you are going to offer up your figures as a loan, make sure there's a trust level. Don't, and I would suggest making sure it's only to people in an event you're going to. Some people are willing to ship out. That's fine, but you're taking a big risk when you do that. Make sure the person you're shipping to is somebody you're very close with and are very familiar and know. I can't stress that enough. Like, I can tell you about this, but you also have to understand is that these things come with concerns. And as a parent myself, I wouldn't want anybody to make a decision that could really affect them. Now, that said, myself and PJ are bringing figures. We're both going to be at Canadian Nationals. If you plan on borrowing from us, let us know. Or, let us know while we're there. Like I said, I'm going to be bringing a bunch of things, whatever I have for the most part. And I can help out in whatever way I can. Of course, there will be situations where it's like, can I borrow this figure? I'm using mine, or I don't have an extra that I can loan you right now. And there is quite a few figures we have multiples of that we've had to kind of say I can't offer up things. Another piece of preparation. I learned this very quickly after my first year at Worlds. If you're going to be at Battle Royales a lot, bring something to bring what I like to call Battle Royale chaff, or what Magic players call draft chaff. You're going to have a bunch of figures, and you're just not going to know what to do with them. At the dollar store, you can get a sizable container. A container about this size can get you, hey, what's that? Figure this size can hold almost an entire set of Heroclix. Some, new sets and whatnot. You can get those at the dollar store for like $2. You can get bigger ones for like $2 as well that are not necessarily, they don't have handles. I like this one because of the handles. But grab something to grab your Battle Royale chaff, and don't just leave figures on the table or put them on the side of the table or something. Or, guys who are running the event, if you want to set up like a draft chaff table, I might suggest that for, newer players who might need a couple extra little commons and uncommons that they might not have.
I even saw when I was at Worlds or Origins last year, you even see some rares depending on if people just want them. So you never know.
Yep. I know at Channel Fireball Magic tournaments, I've seen things with like cards for kids where draft chaff collects, but they don't, because you're running a Grand Prix, there's hundreds and hundreds of tables. You don't want to be cleaning all of those cards up after the fact. Put the cards in that box for kids, and like libraries and stuff get them for Magic clubs and stuff like that. So it's a good cause. Just don't make a mess. You know what I mean? Like I can't stand it. I was at a pre-release for Magic this weekend. Guys were just leaving stacks of cards in the middle of the table. Like, put them aside, right? I appreciate that you think you're doing a nice thing by leaving them all on the table, but there's certain things you're supposed to put back because card stores that run Magic say borrow our lands. Well, if you leave a land at the middle of the table, it's being rude. Put it back in the box where they gave it to you. Anyway, I'm on a tangent. So preparation. Another piece of preparation. Bring water. Lots of water. I know the Jersey guys, they have this neat little habit of carrying big 4-liter jugs of water. That's an option. Carry multiple bottles if you have to. I can't stress enough that you need stuff to drink while you're at a tournament. Plan your caffeine appropriately. I know I have to. Pack some food ahead of time because restaurants are expensive. And, most hotel rooms come with a nice little fridge. You can throw just enough food to kind of snack on or anything like that. Bring small snacks. If you find yourself grinding through 4 tournaments, you're going to get hungry at some point. You need to eat. So get some food in you, because a hungry brain is not a smart brain. And neither is a drunk brain or a tired brain. Tired brains and drunk brains are both the same thing. I know this firsthand. I was up for 20 hours on Saturday, and I might as well have been drunk. And then I added alcohol to the mix. Yeah, I mean, of course, if you're going to be consuming alcohol while you're there, to be of age. Don't. Do you have anything else we should add? Like anything else on the side stuff, Jay, that not like specific to the tournament necessarily, but just general behavioral things that you should be aware of, bring things people should be bringing or preparing with?
As far as non-actual Heroclix stuff goes, I think you pretty much covered it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you're packing, you should. What I've been doing more recently is actually like taking my notebook and writing down everything I have and checking it off. Like making sure you actually have the stuff that you want to play with is kind of a thing.
If it helps at all, and you're the type that has a bit of an absent-mindedness to you, there's an app myself and Amber started using for a little while to get ourselves organized called Todoist. It's a list making app. Plan your days ahead of time. You can set schedules and stuff, and it's a whole list of things to do throughout your day. And I think they gamified certain elements of it where you collect points and whatnot for performing your tasks and doing good things. So there's some ambient reward system in that. If you have a hard time remembering this kind of stuff, use I've already started a Todoist for my Thursday night packing, which I'm probably going to be doing at like 4 in the morning because that's how my life goes right now. And like on that is, what the first thing on that list is for my Thursday night, Jay? What's the first thing on my list?
Maps.
Because I've been playing this game for 15 years and I still forget to bring maps. All right. That said, we're going to be moving into questions. But before I do that, I do want to say that we do have a Patreon. So you can check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Any donation level on that gets you access to our patron Discord. And you get access to our patron hangout. Now, the month of July, we've already had our patron hangout. The month of August, we're looking at August 5th as the date for our patron hangout. We try to do it now on the first Sunday of the month. And what we do on the patron hangout is we sit down in front of a camera and we talk with our patrons and let them ask us questions, or we just have a general chit chat with them. We moved it to Sunday because it worked for more patrons. So for a while, we were only getting one on a regular basis. Now we get a little bit more here and there. And it gives those who support us directly a little bit of a chance to talk to us directly. The patron Discord, it's been a little bit lax, but it's the summer, so we'll see what happens with that. $5 a month gets you early access to any of our recorded comments, such as Metafix or Casual Corner, which Amber has been doing, as well as any episodes of Dial It Up she might have. And sorry, any of our non-WizKids sponsored recorded content. WizKids sponsored being our unboxing videos, which I don't know. Scott started his. Ours might be coming up soon. Who knows? It might be a thing. What's up? I don't know. But check that out again, patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. So we're going to start our questions on the Facebook. If you're watching us live on the chat, putting big capital letters questions ahead of your questions so that I can catch it in the chat. And I do have another series of questions we're going to drill last because I keep missing this guy's questions and he sends them directly to me, and I really got to be a better show host and address this. But first things first, guys, it's official. He's back in the market. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Stockhouse, put a stamp on it. It's an episode. Oh, God, this is so unsmooth when I can't hit the hook with my clipboard. All right, he asks, so I just started a Heroclix team, the Great Lakes Rogues. What are the best ways to keep your Heroclix teams active and together? Any tips for recruiting? Okay. Teams, in my experience, form naturally. Like you're in a group, you hang out in a store, and then you all practice together. The team mentality, as it were, is in Heroclix. This is the group of people I practice with. Now, sometimes there's a quiet agreement on prize splitting or offerings and whatnot. That often comes from the open access of borrowing and everything like that. I can't tell you hard advice on recruiting a team because you need here's the best way a Heroclix team generally functions. You have a home base of some sorts. Now, if your home base is Roll20, awesome. Have fun. And that's where you guys meet on a regular basis to practice or talk clicks or do something. Or if it's a local store, I think that's the best way because you meet in person every week, you practice some stuff, and then I generally try to keep practice separate from tournaments. So I might go in early to a store, buy a couple things, and be like, I'm going to practice Heroclix with my buddies. Is that cool? I can't stress that enough. Buy a couple things if you're going to go to a store and practice. Don't go in there and take up real estate. That's just mean, and like they don't want to deal with that. It costs them money to run the store, and if they have to be watching you like a hawk and you haven't been providing any money to them, that's not a really good arrangement if you ask me. As far as recruiting, I mean, hey, you play Heroclix, I play Heroclix, let's play together. Are you going to play in competitive tournaments? Come to our practice nights when we do it. that's, I think, the best advice I have for recruiting a team. I mean, it's not a hard, fast thing. The gaming teams are different depending on the game. Heroclix teams are more of a social gathering of players than a team format. Whereas when you get into things like Magic the Gathering, where there's financial value in the prizing, like, and by financial value, I mean there is finances being given out. There's an easy way to split, and it's called division. And there's pricing and stuff like that. So that's how teams in that work. Teams in this, it's just it's a thing that's more or less a way that people kind of denote that we practice together. Aren't we fun? Jay, anything you want to add there?
I think you pretty much covered it. Well, the fact that there's not very frequent team events, but they do exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like this year, we're going to have 3 between the ROC, WizKids Nationals, WizKids Worlds. So
yeah, because we had the U.S. Nationals had a team nationals,
mm-hmm.
and then we had Team Worlds coming up in Philadelphia, and then of course, like you said, ROC World Cup at Rocktober. There is a team event. So yeah, but that's a seal. That's a hard thing to practice for.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
practice for.
Oh boy, it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, look at it this way. Let's practice building teams for our team sealed event. Okay, so we got to buy 6 packs. So you just bought 60% of a brick. You might as well bought the whole brick and open the other 2 packs after the fact. Maybe even just to see what you guys can add to the general collection. That's, I think, one thing that gets missed about Heroclix teams is they're mostly just an expanded collection as opposed to like a hard set rule of thing. You don't need a team to be competitive. You just need people to practice with. That's a common misconception, and it's actually made people outright angry about. You know, it's like, well, what are you angry about? These are just people who get along and they call themselves something. Get over it. There's no reason to be angry. I mean, we have a online WizKids Meta Lab casting crew team, but I mean that's just all the guys on the Meta Lab and Heroclix and our friends. It's there's this weird thought that like teams
people talk about rankings despite the fact that it's mostly local events which don't matter in the grand competitive scheme.
We're in the like top 14 teams of the world. Me and Amber barely play.
Yeah, well, I play twice a week, so but that's all local. It doesn't matter. Like I'm top whatever, but it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah,
it's my 401 games tournaments.
There's a guy I knew who just happened to play like 8 events a week. 7 events a week. And it's like, cool, you're in the top 4, and then nationals happens, and then if he didn't show up for that, he lost. Nationals is worth more points. So there's an arbitrary thing about that. So then you lose it all. It means nothing. It's just arbitrary.
Absolutely nothing.
EP measuring. All right. Next up, Brian Sinkoff. Thoughts on the Batman animated chase series chases, best and worst, and the set overall. Have we seen them all yet? We haven't
missing
seen
Superman.
Superman's the only one we haven't seen. I'd say the best, if I was to put like top 4, would be Wonder Woman, without a shadow of a doubt, Flash, Batman, and Atom. Actually, no, Atom as a chase isn't really in the top 4. Atom as a figure, I think, is better than all of them as a figure. I'm gonna hold my Green Lantern. Number 4. I'm kidding. Green Lantern.
I was saying you're missing a certain Green Lantern there.
Yeah, a certain Jordan man.
I was gonna say I like Firestorm because he has prob, but like nothing else going. I think you pretty much hit it as far as the numbers go. Yeah, Wonder Woman is just by far number 1, like no question.
I come out, I action token a bunch of guys. All right, cool. Now I'm gonna attack. Oh wait, I have leadership, by the way.
Yeah, I think Robin is just at the end of that list with just cheap perplex is good.
Yeah, when it comes to worst, I have a hard time defining what's a worst one from this. I mean, they're all really good. Even Aquaman.
They cost 0 points. You can't be bad.
Yeah, it cost me missing a bunch of attacks.
It's like when people said the tank was bad after the errata. It's 8 points. It's nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Is 8 points a big investment on your team?
Or, of course, we can never forget how terrible the Joker is now. Just trash.
Just Joker is still good. Anybody who thinks otherwise is kidding themselves. But I can't tell you how many people forget that you're required to roll that die every turn.
Yeah, that's kind of the important part of the nerf. Like the Mastermind was one thing, but that is kind of important.
All right, next up, Joker West. Joker, Penguin, Scarecrow, Ivy, Bane, Freeze, and Riddler are all attacking Gotham. Batman is trapped in the negative zone. Which 3 members of the Bat family do you choose to stop Batman's greatest foes? This is the best question that has ever been asked on the channel. All right, 3 Batman family members that have to stop Batman's rogues gallery. Well, let's alternate. I'm going to start with Nightwing because he's basically Batman as trained by Batman. Which one's your next one?
I'm going to say Batgirl because she's hella smart, photographic memory, probably the second best pure strategist, I guess you could say.
Cool. All right, now we'll team up on the third one. I mean, we can use
none of the Robins, I don't think.
Well, yeah, none of the Robins are particularly like super standout.
I guess I'm thinking Red Hood has the best arsenal as far as deadly weapons go.
Maybe, and he's not a Robin anymore. He's Red Hood. So yeah. Let's go Red Hood because you know what? In that situation, things could get dicey. He'll go that extra step.
He will do the things that Batman will not do.
He will shoot an MFer. All right. So now we move into the chat. If you're in the chat, big capital letters question in front of your question so we can catch it because you guys have been chatty today. All right.
Oh boy, it's a long one.
I tried to attack the bots, but I think I missed one. Yeah. This unfortunately named one is a bot, right?
What about do we have the Ultimate Warrior somewhere?
Oh, the Ultimate Warrior has been removed. Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, we're just going to spam the chat. I'm not going to do that. So for those of you who missed the announcement, Adam Cole is claiming he's going to not be a Canadian Nationals. I still don't believe a word he says. And this is the thing, Adam. You have cried wolf too many times for me to believe you. Julio Lopez, I hope I said that right. Majestics ROC California State Championships. It's this weekend. There's so many qualifiers on that. What modern figures would you build around for this tournament? All states are modern, right?
Yeah, it's all 300 modern.
I mean, there's lots. I think we've gone over that for the most part. But if you're looking for safe bets, Star Fox. If you don't have a Star Fox, consider building around 100-point Carnage. If you don't have 100-point Carnage, consider a Goblin King. If you don't have a Goblin King, I'm running out of ideas. Jay, what do you go?
I still think Sam Cap is the single best figure in the game right now. And you have, even once you factor in a taxi, you still have half or more of a build. So, yeah.
And barring that, get as many Shredders as you possibly can.
I mean, Shredder Clone's only rare, and you don't need the Shark, so
yeah.
That's a quarter of your build.
Snapcaster, hi, how are you? I'm from Guatemala. Can you let me know if there's a core rulebook in Spanish? Not that I know of. I only know. I mean,
they make cards in Spanish sometimes, maybe.
So it might require that you check in the European with European distributors to see if they have a Spanish rulebook, because I know there's a separate European distributor / creator in Europe that handles Heroclix product for them. It's the best I got, unfortunately. I'm not 100% familiar, being up north in Canada. They don't even follow Canadian language laws and have French rule books, to be brutally honest. So, all right. Leave Hulk Hogan. Oh, gosh, you've talked so much. Do you think a bot can win in Canadian Nationals? We got a 5% penetration rate of Heroclix right now. Can I code 5% of Heroclix into the game, make a team functional with that bot, or let the bot AI come up with its own algorithm to figure out the best team possible? And not if I start now.
There was actually a thread on HRMs about programming AI for Heroclix. I don't think it's necessarily the hardest thing to do. Like, you can do chess, and it's only so many more degrees complicated. As far as did I say incorrect things?
Yes. Pretty much so. AI still has trouble figuring out Go.
You're kidding.
Absolutely.
We're beyond that.
Oh, no, we're not. I mean, there's elements of Go that are still very complex for AI management. And I don't know the rules of the game myself. I'm just aware of the fact that this is an old school game with very minuscule, like simple rules that there's still so many complexities to AI programming for it that they haven't quite figured it out yet. So, yeah, we're not quite there on that.
Well, like right now, there's so many options. Like on your team, you have 9 sideline characters, maybe even, 5 or more ID cards. Like every individual decision is theoretically hard to make.
Yeah, and then there's rules for it's easy to program maximum damage to maximum possibility, right? That's the easy part. But when you get into weird powers like choosing powers that need to be canceled,
pick
situations, right? Think of Outwit, pick a power. Think of Perplex. Like there's complexities to that you have to program AI to consider, right?
Or even drop this attack.
Yeah. You find if there's a single target worth attacking on your team, you're gonna see AIs programmed that will more likely perplex down defenses than up attacks.
Or multi-targeting. Oh God.
Yeah. So hold your roll, son. This is not an easy game to code the AI for. All right. Joe Ramirez. So for Groot, when you generate Walking Woods at the beginning of the game, does it have to be in the printed purple? I think we talked about that earlier, but the answer is yes, right, Jay?
No.
What?
Walking Woods don't have to be in the starting area at all.
No, sorry. When you generate Walking Woods to create Leslie Evans has to be in the purple area. The Walking Woods.
He's just asking when you generate Walking Woods.
Okay, but don't be a robot. Let's go through the whole thing so everybody understands the complexities of this. If you cannot place Leslie Evans in a purple starting area, correct?
Yeah.
You can't create Walking Woods. But the Walking Woods
correct statement.
Do not care about the purple starting area. They just have to generate, which means they're adjacent to Groot.
That's one more thing. Generate is adjacent by default. I'm seeing so many questions about, where does this generate?
Yes.
By default, it's adjacent.
By default, generate is adjacent unless otherwise specified. Like Carnage, for instance. He says generate, but it also says adjacent to the character he's attacking with the Colossal Retaliation.
Mm-hmm.
So be aware of those words. Those words are all important. All right.
Key phrases are more important in general now.
Yeah. Nolan Lake, who's a local Canadian, who's going to be a Canadian national, as he tells us. Shredder Clone, Double Batroc, Crowbar, and Blood Axe. Groot Chameleon. Sideline is Riddler, Mysterio, and other Batroc, and Overdrive team. Canadian nationals, or play it safe with Unimind?
Well, first of all,
what's up?
Well, I was going to say, to begin with, you definitely want to replace one of those disguises with Darwin for, random.
Absolutely.
Wanting a Darwin.
To deal with
also people, it's already been mentioned that you can't carry the Blood Ox Batroc, but also it's going to take that team so long to actually start equipping the objects.
So,
long story short, alpha striked.
Aim for Unimind. I think is the crux of what we want to get at here, right?
Essentially.
Yeah. You did qualify it, so I didn't want to add too much to it. That's all.
Unimind isn't as autoplay and easy to putt as he used to be, but I feel like out of all the archetypes, he's closer to easy to play.
Fair. All right. If you won nationals, what figure would you choose for WizKids to make?
That's not a thing anymore.
Is that not a thing anymore?
No, they got rid of it.
That's a shame. But I would. I'm still on the campaign for a new Dr. Doom.
Yeah, you wish.
It's my campaign, and I will fight it forever.
On this topic, I was very sad today when we got confirmation of the last slots of the set, because that means we're not getting my Atom Smasher. One day.
Oh, in the Batman anime series?
Yeah, because he was in the show.
Yeah.
It's weird because he's Suicide Squad and JSA, and we've had 2 sets that have both those sub themes. I thought it was a shoe-in for at least one of them, but one day.
Yeah, so I'm still on that Dr. Doom train, and I will fight it. I mean, it's probably an easier fight to win now than it's ever been.
Yeah. I don't think you have to worry about it much longer.
James McMaster. Oh, I think that's the man I think it is. That's a guy who almost won with a Rat King. If you were to mind control Shredder Elite and move him, would he deal his damage to his former friendly team? Jay?
Nope. He would actually deal damage to your characters if you happen to move him next to yours. But the check is after resolutions, and they're friendly after resolutions. So you could actually hurt your own effect, your own characters with the effect.
Now, is that not another thing where I get to choose the order of when resolutions occur?
Well, because Shredder Elite only kicks in after resolutions. And
right. Doesn't mind control kick back out after resolutions?
Not necessarily, because they can be like, if you mind control two characters and one of them does all their stuff, they immediately become unfriendly. But that's what the win ruled it as. So
okay, there it is. The win has the rule.
It trumps either of us. But to explain it, that's why, because it's all after resolutions, and once they're not mind controlled, whatever. So.
All right. Kevin Sharp, any possible meta figures from the new Batman set besides the chase? Actually, I think Brian Sinkoff said that, and I failed. No, he didn't. So yeah, any possible meta figures from the new Batman set besides the chases? Anything that caught your eye, Jay?
Okay. While I pull up the evidence thread,
we mentioned the super rare Joker as a call-in is definitely got some potential.
But we still need to find out what the present does. Because
no, you don't. Nothing.
I like the Bane object is not the Bane object relevant. I like what was the figure? Oh, the Clock King.
I like the 30-point Joker. He's not bad.
Yeah, proper 30 points. Just throw him on a Sam Cap team or something that needs it. There's not. I mean, the Domino's okay, but as far as just really cheap prob goes, you can't go wrong with him.
Well, he's also got another effect that goes with it. It's
it's like he can make a pseudo incap attack after he uses a free smoke cloud.
It's not a free smoke cloud. It's a smoke cloud, then it's a free attack.
Oh, okay. Hotman Hawker will have a lot of clicks of life. Zatanna is going to be good later, I think. None of the problems besides Clock King, but I already mentioned Clock King. I think that's pretty much it. And also, keep an eye out for what can be called in with.
Has Fast Forces been spoiled yet?
All except for Poison Ivy. The Joker is actually really hard to. The Joker is incredibly hard to kill. For 75 points, right. He takes 2 damage at a time at the most. He maybe on that.
Don't sleep on the ninjas.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Do not sleep on the ninjas. Or for that matter, the anybody who can. There's a lot of characters who with leadership can bring in suited henchmen.
Also, the suited henchmen by themselves.
Yeah, the suited henchmen by themselves. 5 points. They're almost. I mean, the tribbles were 5 points too, right?
Yeah.
I think they almost qualify as better than the tribbles. That's for sure.
Differently good, I think. I think that they can't reproduce asexually.
You're right. Okay, so the tribbles reproduce. And they're animal keyword, so they have that going for them. But the suited henchmen have different dials that have so much potential.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We're only waiting on the Fast Forces Poison Ivy, the Release Day Penguin, and the Superman Chase. So who knows?
The Release Day Penguin I got to look at was kind of okay.
We didn't. Oh, that's not.
What? No, I didn't get that from anybody. I got to look at that.
Okay.
And spoiler alert, Brick wasn't the only thing we got.
Oh.
Poison Ivy's pretty cool. I don't think she's super winny, but she's cool. She's very cool.
Nice.
So I have to take something back now that I have seen the starter set maps. They will be tournament legal. They absolutely will. There's a constellation that goes with the point thing, and the creation of bystanders is only specific to 2 of the maps. And there's 4 different maps. One of them has like a really specific effect to Batman.
I didn't know about that one yet.
Yeah.
Were you about the hyenas, the penguin one, the penguin pogs, and the Poison Ivy thingy?
Yeah, the Poison Ivy one has pump hogs too, didn't it?
Oh, and the Joker one.
No,
it was the same. Yeah.
Joker's Funhouse and the Iceberg Lounge.
Joker's Funhouse and the Iceberg Lounge are the only ones that have the bystanders. The other two have other effects that you can use. But there's a constellation as well. I go over it in the video where we talk about it. But in general, there's a you pick one of the things. If you win map roll, choose that map, you get that effect. The constellation is you didn't win map roll, therefore you get other effect. And that's also if you don't end up on that map. I think is the other. Or I think you actually have to actively win map roll. I have to double check it again. But anyway,
it does look interesting. There are so many ways now to fill in your points. Like I was at one version of my team I was building now, it was just 5 points under, and I was like, there's literally nothing more to spend points on. I already have ID cards and terrain and the tank, and now I can pay points for maps. It's all fun stuff.
Absolutely. What, you didn't want to put tribbles or suited henchmen on your teams? Come on, man.
I'm like, tribbles are great theme, but yeah, you never know.
One observation I can make about the constellation and the map thing is that 5 points is interesting, but a lot of it is very character focused. Like to get the maximum amount out of it, you have to be playing a very specifically named character. Like there's one that's just flat out Batman ignores this, Robin ignores this. There's two like that. There's another one where like you get something cool on the map, but something even cooler if it's Poison Ivy. The hyenas, it's like you get both of them if you're Harley Quinn, otherwise you roll for them. If you lose the map, you get one of them. And then the Iceberg Lounge is like if you win that map, you get all or 4 of the pogs. If you don't, you get one of them. So
realistically, your best case scenario for a map actually being good is Penguin because he's the most likely character to be played. The pogs looked okay from what I remember. And the map, I presume, has water for King Shark. So
most certainly does have water. It's that's a thing I can definitely guarantee.
Plus, Darwin is a swimmer, so he'll get the +1 from range.
Go Darwin!
That actually came up in sealed for that set because of Moir Island having water. It was pretty dumb.
Yeah. Of course, there. Nope, that's the wrong one. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find Penguin one just to be sure. Okay, so yeah, the Penguin one you get 2 of the bystander tokens. You get 2 bystander tokens, or 4 if you have the Penguin. And then at the beginning of the game, otherwise you get 1 specific Penguin. Probably the worst one. Actually, it's a Penguin, a Puffin, and a Seal.
That's cute.
It's the seal is
yeah,
so
I think most of this information's been documented from the Origins thing, so it's on the evidence thread somewhere.
Yeah, so those will be legal. I apologize for my opinion on that matter.
Yeah, how dare you have an opinion?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's that thing. It's like something that extreme generally doesn't find its way, but they actually this isn't so much extreme as it is managed and metered. But you do kind of have to make sure your opponent is well informed on this one, and I think that's the biggest challenge on this is because they're not providing physical pogs that come with these maps with the map kit. Spoiler alert, they aren't. You're kind of forced to make your own, and then that is its own debate in itself. And I hate that the debate has to exist, but it does to a certain degree. WizKids should be providing us to a certain degree with these things, especially in the starter set when you're already putting cardboard in there. Throw another cardboard cutout.
I mean, we got pogs that were made of cardboard in TMNT. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they should be giving us that stuff like that. In the packs, it's a little harder to justify, but I think they should be doing something similar to Magic where they throw an extra card insert in every pack that's got cardboard in it, and it's got a bystander that's represented in the pack. It doesn't even have to come with a figure that the bystander is for. Just start throwing those bystanders in the pack.
Well, yeah,
like we can accumulate them.
We have more pog generators per set than, like, what? Mighty Thor, you had how many different characters making the Warrior Souls?
Yeah.
So many different kinds of pogs. It's a little weird that we don't have more official ways to get them.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, this is one of those things you can learn from Magic the Gathering, guys, and try that. Throw a little bit of cardboard in our thing, a little extra cardboard that gives us a pog so we have something to work with. I just, because it's so hard to call it an excuse when somebody does lose and they're not paying attention. A lot of people have turned to using special markers. I'm not against it, but as a person myself, I know I'll be asking questions a lot. So one of the things I do try to do is bring a ton of bystander tokens that are planned on being played so that I have something to track and at least for myself. The hard part is, of course, if I'm using that bystander myself, I have to find a way to mark what's theirs and what's mine. So
yeah, well, that's going to happen a lot with Groot these days. It's like, hey, I have walking woods, you have walking woods. Uh-oh.
I really miss clixaccessories.com. They did release to the public their files for 3D printing. And you can make 3D printing if you have access to a 3D printer. You can use their stuff to create your own 3D printed ID rings, which are a good way to denote that kind of thing. They fit in squares. They were really good. I really enjoyed using them, especially with resources when you had to denote who has a resource and who doesn't, kind of thing. So, all right. Moving on from that, Happy Little Heroclix wants to know, when did they do away with a world championship champion making a figure? Was it replaced with anything? That's a little discrepancy. World champion's still making figures, as far as we know. When national champion for a little while is what we were talking about. They used to be able to pick a figure, not design the figure. They used to pick a name of a figure. In this set coming up, there's actually 2 different versions of that. There's the national champion version. Actually, there's 3 in this set because the team world champions from last year, they made Hawk Girl and Hawk Man as a duo figure. That's going to be in the set. Kenny Kaneshiro, Shiro, I think is how he said pronounce it. He picked
Phantasm,
and Scott Crampton picked the Clock King. All 3 made it into this set. So I think that's pretty much all of the national champion pick figures at this point. UK's last year got Penance in X-Men. So, and that's the thing. These guys aren't designing these figures. These guys are picking these figures for nationals, and they're gonna find their way into sets. World champion gets to full-blown design a figure. So the Hawkman, Hawk Girl is designed by these guys who won. And that's it. That's all the questions we have today. Jay, anything you want to say before we zip off?
No, I think we went long enough as it was.
We found a way to go on long without anything. We do this every time. It's like, oh, there's not much information. Oh, well, we're going to go for an hour and 45 minutes anyway. But that said, I do want to take a second to thank our longtime sponsors over at MajesticCCG.com. Check out the premium site, the Apex Insiders. That's the same site except /Apex-Insiders to get information from the great minds of the games of Heroclix, the game of Heroclix. The Apex Insider premium site gets premium articles from really great writers, really great players in Heroclix, including such writers as Paris Gordon, Daniel Powell's a regular writer there, PJ Bolin, Easton Brock. All of these guys are really great players. And then MajesticCCG.com is also where you'll find things like major tournament results that find their way to Pat, or tournament write-ups from players who were at tournaments or may have won tournaments. So as a general note, we want to thank them and check them out. Like we said, great site, great people working for the site, great brains in general. As well, we want to thank, of course, our patrons at patreon.com/Heroclix for directly supporting us as they do. They've been a wonderful help, and we'll see you guys August 5th for our patron hangout. I'm not sure what the status of next week's episode is. We're going to play it by ear. We may be exhausted and not want to do it, or we may be in the game and be able to do it. We'll see how things go. Of course, next Monday will be our wrap-up from Canadian Nationals. We'll be talking about that, so we look forward to that and look forward to seeing you guys on the show. If you're watching in the archives, thank you very much for watching. If you're watching live, also thank you a ton for watching live. You guys are great in the chat, except for the bots. I hate you guys. You're making my job actually a little harder. But without further ado, guys, this is the last couple days. There's 4 more days, and then there's a travel day. If you're not traveling, you have 5 more days to get it in there and figure out your team and figure out where you're getting your figures from. And in general, just take that stuff, look at it, figure it out against other teams, and get some practice. Because, and Jay, we're going to do this, practice
makes
your
team
better. Good luck at Canadian Nationals. For those of you who are going to be there, see you guys there, and hope to have a chance to talk to as many players as I can in between games. Good luck and have fun.